Hi, this is Megan Jacks, Creative Memories Independent Advisor, and I'm here today with a technique video to show you how to use the Wildflower border punch from Creative Memories to make an inside border on a piece of designer paper. You will definitely want to use a lighter weight designer paper because we are going to be folding this when we punch. This is not a technique I came up with. This is, I had a customer who sent me an image asking how do they do this inside border. I think they got it off of Japan Instagram. And so I am putting this video together to show her and my other customers how to do this. So here we go. You are going to want to start with a piece of designer paper. I am using the cover sheet off of the totally tonal neutral hues. You have to double check your papers because the previous cover sheets were all more of a cardstock. The newer cover sheets from Creative Memories will be this lighter weight. It's more of the designer paper weight. So make sure you're using that designer paper weight, not the thick cover sheets that came with some of our older paper packs, but off of the newer ones, you will see this thinner paper. Or you can just use a maybe an uglier piece of paper that you don't care for. But you definitely want to make sure you have that thin paper. So the first thing we need to do is we need to remove an 8x8 square from the middle. We are going to want to work with a 2-inch frame all the way around. So to do that, what I'm going to do here is I want to write in here, we're removing an 8x8 inch square. So you can barely see that, but we're going to remove an 8x8 inch square. And I'm going to have us do that the old-fashioned way where we're going to make 4 cuts, inside cuts. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to preserve this center area without folding it. You could fold on the diagonal and make 2 cuts, but then your center square is going to have that fold to it. And I don't want that because I want to be able to preserve that paper if I wanted to use that 8x8 mat for something else. So when I do this, I turn my trimmer to the side because I want to see my markings here on the ruler. The thing to note here is we need to pay attention to where our white line is. I have marked that white center line here on the top of my blade housing. This is a technique I got from Diana Brinsley from the Creative Life Scrapbooking, one of the PJ parties. She does this. So you can see how it just lines up perfectly with that white edge or the white line. So I'm going to make a 2-inch frame. So I'm coming in here, line this up at 2 inches. If you want to use the binder clip technique, you certainly could. You could come in here, move your blade housing over here so that white line ends up at 2, stick in a binder clip, come down here to 10 inches, lines up, that white line lines up, and you set a binder clip on either end, and then you're just cutting between the binder clips. I'm comfortable enough to go ahead and just eyeball this. I've been doing it for a while, but if you're newer or a little more unsteady with your cuts, you certainly could use those binder clips. It would make it go really fast. So I'm going to make 4 cuts total at 2 inches. So to the 2-inch, we want to go with a 2-inch frame. It did take me a little bit to get the measurements on this. I definitely wasted a few pieces of paper, but they're just the cover stock or the cover sheets here, so I'm not too worried about it. Definitely had to play around, find out the right technique, and hopefully I'm able to repeat it here on the video for you. So you can see here, I have this 8x8. There's no fold to it. I could, if I had a designer piece of paper here, I would be able to use this in a layout for mats, whatever I needed to do with it. Flip it over, I have the opposite side to work with. So now that I have my frame, I can go ahead, I'm gonna set my trimmer aside. This technique that I'm going to show you, I am showing you with the Wildflowers punch. This may be repeatable with other punches. I don't know. One of the things about the Wildflower punch that is a little bit nice is, you know, it's wildflowers. There is a little bit of, if something in here is not perfectly cut, it's okay. You're not going to notice it. The flowers themselves are, you know, they're kind of irregular. They're wildflowers. So this is a good punch to work with. The first thing we want to do is we are going to fold this on the diagonal. So I am going to fold this as such. Got my point there. I will come over to the other side and I will fold my point. Now, here's the tricky part. You can see here, I've got my folds. All right. This side over here, I am going to feed this in. And actually, I want to feed it in from this side. and I'm gonna line it up. I'm coming here, you can see I've got my finger, I fed it in from this direction, I'm feeding it in from the left, feeding it towards the right. I'm gonna come here until I can feel the point with my right finger down here at the bottom, right here. I can feel the tip of that paper coming through, and I'm gonna go ahead and make my first punch. I'm gonna just move it down the line. I can see where my pattern is matching up. I'm gonna just keep punching, and I can do 3 punches, and then I'll need to stop. All right, 3 punches. The first one, second, third. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm flipping my paper over. I'm gonna feed my point in towards the right, or from the left to the right. Once again, I'm coming here till I feel it with my fingertip. I am going to, before I start punching, I'm gonna scoot all that debris out of the way. I can feel that punch, that tip on here, down here at the lower right, and I punched my first one. I'm gonna slide it along, looking for my pattern to match up on the right, punch again. I'm gonna punch a third time. The key is when you're doing these first 2 sets of punches, you only punch 3 times, okay? So there we go. This is what I've got. You can see those wildflowers, you can see my corners. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unfold it, and I'm gonna refold it on the opposite corners. What should happen is my patterns should line up, all right? This is because when I was feeding those corners in, I'm feeding them from the same direction. I fed everything from the left towards the right. So here I've got those patterns lined up. Now what I can do is I can see that this is not the pattern. You can see here, my pattern doesn't line up right. I can see this on the front of the punch, doesn't line up. I actually need to flip it over. For this second set of punches, I am gonna feed from the right to the left. And I'm gonna come here, instead of trying to go for this punch, to feel it with my finger, I'm actually gonna line up my pattern. My flowers line up here, right in here. This is where they're lining up on the right side of the punch. I just need to find, there we go. There's my pattern, I can see it. I've covered up the blue. I'm gonna go ahead and punch. Now here's where I can make a decision. I can open this up and I can see, do I like that corner compared to, I can see this corner versus this corner. So I have a decision to make. Do I want to punch one more time? And I am going to go ahead and I am going to punch one more time here. I decided that I liked it a little bit better. Just give it another fold. To keep this under control, I am going to go ahead and fold the second corner. It's wanting to bounce back at me. One thing I want you to note here, when I am folding this corner, I am working to line this up, and then I'm going to make my fold. All right, it may not be perfect. I can see I'm a little bit off, but that's okay. I'm going to unfold this and you're going to see a crease, but it won't be any big deal if this doesn't line up. What I want to go for is this pattern to line up, because remember, I'm using the pattern to feed this in. So I want my 2 sides to match here. So now that this side's under control, I'm going to come back here and feed this in. I'm going to get the debris out of the way, especially when working with the folded paper. That fold sometimes will kick back up into the punch and might clog it on the next time you punch. So there we go. And there we can see that lovely pattern. It does kind of give a little bit of that, makes you think of how like the snowflakes are when you make those snowflakes, that kaleidoscope effect. Now I get to do it on the other side. So once again, I can see here, my pattern doesn't line up. And once again, you're gonna have to feed it from the right to the left. So this should line up, feed it in, come over here until my pattern, there you go. I can see that I found my pattern, hold it in place and punch. Let's slide one more time, slide it over here. And there's my pattern, punch. All right, so now I should have a lovely interior frame with those wildflowers. So there you go. You can see it's pretty easy. You just need to know. Remember, we're going to cut out an 8 by 8 inch square. You're going to fold it at the corners. The first 2 sets of punches you do, you will feed from the left to the right. You're going to feed it in until you feel that tip with your finger. You repeat on the other side, feeding it in till you have the 2 corners done. Then you refold it making sure that everything lines up. And on that second round of punches, you're going to feed from the right side towards the left, using the punch, the guide on the wings of the punch to help you line things up. And then you should have it all set to go. All right, so thanks for watching. I can't wait to see what you guys make with this. You'll have a lot of fun.